Yeah, men's side, man. They've got an opportunity to secure the double bye, which I think that they can still finish second in the Big Ten because if you look at Northwestern's schedule, which I know that's not your beat, you're not following that, but
well, I can look at it while we're talking, so go on.
but I know that you
internet?
have. But I know he has the still the knowledge of this conference and this league this year and what's going on. The Northwestern schedule, it's going to ramp up for them these last 4 games. They've got 3 out of their last 4 on the road against teams that all need to win. So Indiana could theoretically still finish second, but that's neither here nor there. To me, it's important because you finish second, you're going to be on the opposite side of the bracket from Purdue for the Big Ten tournament. And that the Big Ten has to want that because I don't care if it's in Chicago or Indianapolis, which if it was a shame it's not in Indianapolis this year, but right. I see an Indiana Purdue final at the Big Ten if they're on opposite sides of the bracket for a couple of reasons. Number one, that would probably face Indiana against Northwestern in the bracket again. And there's the old adage that it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And, Indiana probably, you could say they could have easily won those games, either one of those games. But their mistakes that they made led to that. So you have that. And I imagine an Indiana Purdue Big Ten final. And I see that happening this year. And boy, is that going to be a freaking battle royale. And I see Indiana winning their first Big Ten tournament. Let me be the first to say it.
You are out on a limb, my man.
I am. I'm out on a leaf. It's not even a limb, brother. I'm on a leaf.
I have seen so many I saw the best Indiana team of the last 15 years go to the Big Ten tournament and get beat.
Every one of them have gotten beat.
that 2013 team was really, really good, and who they get? They got beat by Wisconsin up in Chicago for that tournament, and I can't remember even who Wisconsin had. I mean, I think Frank Kaminsky was coming off the bench at that point. They might have had Decker by then, maybe. I'm trying to think of because obviously it was some of the guys that would end up going on.
Mike Brusewitz, wasn't he on that team?
Yes.
I just always remember how much of a ridiculous
dude
Brusewitz.
Who's going to bring?
Sounds right. I mean, they all run together.
John pop in to bust up John Brusewitz.
Yeah, they all run together at this point. But I would, they just find ways of messing up there. And again, the other part about it is again what is the value of winning the thing? There is it is very up in the air in terms of what it does for you or does against you when you get to NCAAs. There have absolutely been teams that have burned out because of what they've done. Now, obviously, last year they needed every win they could get, and they got pretty far on the basis of that they got themselves in the tournament because they had a great Big Ten tournament, and it's altogether possible that they go down there and have a great one. But I just kind of feel like, more to the point, this league's all over the place, man. I mean, these standings are insane. Look at from behind Indiana, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams with 7 losses, that are either 9-7 or 8-7.
That are all going to make the tournament. That are all going to make the tournament, probably.
Chaos. Probably, and this is going to be utter, complete chaos. I mean, Michigan. Well, is Michigan a lock at 15-12?
No.
A lock for the NCAA tournament?
I did not realize.
So they're not.
I did not realize that was in that group. No, they've got some serious work to do to dream of getting into the tournament.
I presume Maryland, Iowa, Rutgers, Illinois are locks. I heard you talking in the previous segment that Michigan State is kind of up in the air, and you're right.
Yeah.
Although I was just looking at their team sheet, it's pretty good.
The Big Ten has gone from a solid 9 teams into the tournament to potentially down to 7. Depending on what happens with Michigan State.
They've got a lot of teams that are all the same. I mean, I think what's surprising is like there are some flips about like I remember like I had to do like a Big Ten power rankings thing in like July when like after or I think it was June when Trace decided he was coming back, and like really looked at the roster and was like, this is a mess. Like I don't know what to say here, and obviously there are teams that are in different places than I expect them to be. But if you told me what is going to be the general state of the Big Ten this season, I would say a mess, and it is a mess. I mean, like that held the form. I wasn't right on all this. I certainly didn't think Northwestern was going to be in second place in the league.
Nobody did.
I thought Indiana would win it. I thought Purdue would be in good shape, but I didn't think Edey would be. I mean, we obviously knew Edey was pretty good, but I didn't know he was going to be National Player of the Year good. Like I didn't think he was going to be an absolute brick wall. But it is a mess, and Purdue's pretty good, but Purdue's not great. Like Purdue's not a great basketball team.
Is there a great basketball team? See, this is what's in. I don't think so either. Here's what's.
I don't think so, and obviously, like I'm more removed from it, so maybe because like in years I watch it that I was covering it and therefore watching it all the time, I probably gave a lot of teams more credit than they deserved. But
no, I feel the same.
But from what I'm seeing, no, it doesn't seem like anybody's great. Alabama's pretty darn good. Purdue's pretty darn good. Houston's pretty darn good. But like, Arizona and Kansas are pretty darn good. But like, nobody's even close to unbeatable. I mean,
that's what. I don't think it's a Big Ten thing. I think it's college basketball. Like this year, we saw Alabama. I mean, they beat Vanderbilt by what, like 175 points, and then they got beat by 30 by Oklahoma. Like it's just, there's no great team this year. This is as much of anybody can beat anybody as I think we've ever seen.
Scheduling.
I mean, the only year that I would have put it on that level was the 2020 season where there was no tournament. Like I remember thinking like just everybody. I mean, Baylor and Kansas started to get some level of separation that year. But I remember like even heading into March, I was like, this is a wreck. Like everybody who gets up to number 1 falls off, and obviously we'll never know because the tournament didn't happen because we had COVID. But yeah, no, I mean, like again, everybody has at least 3 losses or at least 2. With Houston, you get to number 5 and you've already got a team with 5 losses. And there are teams in the top 10 that don't have 20 wins yet. So like that tells you really, that puts the math I think in pretty good perspective. Obviously, you're going to get a flip around of the top 25 in a couple hours here because Alabama lost a couple right this week.
They lost to Tennessee, and then I think they boat raced Georgia.
Okay, they jumped off, but they lost to Tennessee, so that they might fall.
I'm guessing Houston's going to be number 1. But see, this is what's going to be interesting to me about the NCAA tournament. For the past 2 seasons, the Big Ten we thought has been so damn good, and based on the seeding, they've been disappointing. I don't care what anybody says. They've been disappointing based on the number of teams that they've gotten into the NCAA tournament.
But both can be true at the same time. I mean, because when it comes to the NCAA tournament, you can still be good, and you get to the NCAA tournament, stuff happens, man. For one,
I'm aware of that, but I'm just saying it's still disappointing.
It is very disappointing.
There were years. I mean, like I would say the 2021 season when it was the the year played under COVID from and obviously finished here. That was really the most brutal year from Big Ten underperforming because they had everybody. I mean, like they had like 6 All-Americans in out of the top 15. They had it was Io's year. I really thought Illinois was going to rake. I mean, they looked terrific, and they all go out and get beat by Loyola in that tournament. That year was really the year that kind of set everything back, and then like last year was still some a level of underperformance. So no, they absolutely have, and I think there's a bigger picture discussion about style of play, how the Big Ten plays versus how that shows up. I'd say from an entertainment value perspective, over the last the 3 years prior to this one, I think were basically like just being competitive, having great players. The Big Ten was, I think, the best league, but the Big Ten showed up in the tournament each year and got busted up. And this year, it's not the best league. This year, I take the Big 12.
And no doubt about that. Here's a number for you to put this one in your brain. Indiana plays all 5 teams that are in the bottom of the Big Ten standings and all below 500 just once this season. That's never happened since the Big Ten has gone to 14 teams, which makes Indiana's the toughest schedule in the Big Ten and maybe the toughest schedule ever in the Big Ten. Purdue, on the other hand, plays 4 of those 5 twice, and that has only happened 6 times before, making Purdue's schedule one of the easiest schedules in the Big Ten. And
the best part about that is that Ohio State is on the list of teams that is in the bottom, and Northwestern is in the list of teams that is in the top,
which is crazy.
That's where I swung and missed drastically. Like I look.
Well, who did? But who didn't? Everybody did, man. I mean,
I
Northwestern was picked 13th.
Always good. Yeah.
And they had Bryce Sensabaugh.
Right, who we didn't know was going to be this good either. Like I figured those transfers would be at least decent, and they have not been.
Do we think Chris Holtman's on the hot seat? Like, is he?
No,
there seems to be a lot of growing.
You're not going to be happy, but he's got Bryce Sensabaugh, and I'm sure he's got stuff coming in. It's Ohio State, man. They just need to borrow some of that $13 million in NIL football money.
There's a lot of grumpy fans in Columbus.
Right, which is a great way to get your contract bought out too. There's a lot of money in Columbus. No, I think hot seat maybe not, but I mean, it only takes one bad year to get you on the track.
Right.
Yep.
It only takes now. That doesn't mean you're getting fired now. Like that means you got to ask yourself some questions. I mean,
they want to be Alabama, man. They want to be good in football and good in basketball,
and they have been. Well, first off, like
they've got the resources.
Traditionally, they've been better than Alabama.
in basketball
Alabama
by far.
Alabama being good at basketball is very much a new thing in the Nate Oates era. I mean, they've had decent seasons from time to time, the Antonio McDyess era and whatnot. But Alabama being good in basketball has been sort of a random thing. This is the first guy who's got it rolling at Alabama in a long time. You know, Oates has been terrific, and they've stacked good teams that have been talented anyway. And so, you know, that's different. Ohio State has been good at both. Ohio State has been up there in terms of who's the best at both for a long time. So they have every reason to have high standards. And you know they have a great facility. Well, they have a facility that packs them in. You know, I don't know if you're into that very NBA-ish arena or not, but whatever. Bottom line is they tend to get people that show up. And again, they've won. They've been a very competitive, top 5 of the Big Ten program for a good 20 years now. Like they've been pretty reliably up there. And this is a drastic fall off. And Holtman had been pretty good, from a just winning at least in the regular season standpoint. I mean, he had some teams that I didn't think were that good that got someplace. I didn't think Dwayne Washington was going to be a star, at the college level. It turned out to be that year where they were the 2. They got beat by Oral Roberts in that tournament. It was going back to the one in Indianapolis. So bottom line is, yes, there are some things that are not going particularly well on that score, and it only takes one bad year. Again, not long ago we were saying, Tom Allen's not on the hot seat. What are we talking about? He's been tremendous. Everything's going to be fine. And, one bad year turns into 2 bad years because it's once you've lost, it's hard to get it back up. And so, you don't pull the trigger after one bad year because it just doesn't seem right. But yeah, I mean, Chris, if this is where things are going, that could be rough. And if Bryce Sensabaugh leaves, and gets his NBA ticket, well, what do you got?